Welcome to the new one-on-one interview show for the Auto Hub Show and Lethal Sales for 2026.
Hello, this is Ian Nethercott with the famous Auto Hub Show, and even though it says behind me live, we aren't live today. We're in the new one-on-one show that we've been doing. Not that new. We've been doing it for about almost 2 years, but this is a new interview with a fine gentleman here, Nicolas. I don't want to butcher the last name, so I'll let him pronounce it. So, Nicolas, tell us a little bit about you, more importantly, why you chose to get involved in the automotive industry or work with automotive dealers.
Hi, Ian. Well, thanks for having me. My last name is Pasier. Don't try it at home. So I'm Nicolas Pasier. I'm a French entrepreneur. And I guess I got connected to the automotive world the same way we all did. I turned the corner one day, saw a Porsche 911 Turbo. I must have been 7 or 8, and we all have this story. It was a Porsche, some it was a Countach, some it was a Ferrari, to me it was a Porsche. And I think I was 8, and a day later I was writing to the president of Porsche in France saying, "Oh my God, I'm going to be a client. Can you send me anything?" And he did. And they were smart about this. It started the craze for me that's still going on today.
Fantastic.
So that's how it all started as a kid.
Yeah, I mean, I've been a car nut for a long time. I actually had the opportunity to own a Porsche product for a little bit. Not a 911 yet, but I did own a Macan for a while. So that was kind of interesting just because I've owned a lot of cars in my life because I'm a car fanatic. But there's always the perception of what ownership of a car is and then the reality. And sometimes they're the same, sometimes they're different. So it's been kind of interesting as I look at sort of starting out owning a Honda Civic and owning a lot of different vehicles. How is sort of that, I guess, that perception as a kid? I mean, the first car that really hit me when I was I think it was junior high school, there was a gentleman in the town that I went to high school in that owned a newspaper at the time. He was a car collector. So he'd bought in the mid-'80s a Countach, one of those ones that's famous. Wow. And I remember watching that car go down a road and just being blown away by just that experience. I mean, I've never driven one, but it was very interesting just because that car was completely impractical in reality. But when you looked at it, you were like, wow, that's quite a statement. And he used to change cars all the time because he didn't have enough money to have 20 collector cars. So what he would do is he'd change them over. But that car, fast forward years later, they were launching a Countach where I used to live at the Lamborghini store, and they had an original one that someone had loaned them. And then they had one that they were selling, but it was there, but they said, "Oh, we don't have any available." I said, "So this car here doesn't exist." I'm like, "Oh, no, it's not for sale." I'm like, "Okay, so why would you bring it?" So it's kind of interesting. So tell us.
It's kind of like you're answering your own question.
Yeah.
Because to me, when people ask me, why are you doing what you do? And you just answered it. Because it's not about, a car is not an object. It's culture.
Yeah.
And whether you're a car buff or not, it is ingrained in our culture. It's been for decades. And whenever you're with a car fanatic as you are, as soon as you start asking about car, they don't talk about car. They talk about culture. They talk about history. They talk about emotions or a story that they have.
Yeah.
And suddenly, that's the easiest answer for me because it's a passion. And you can't really explain it. Is it reasonable? It isn't. Is it fair? Is it whatever? It's no to all those questions, but it's culture, it's emotion, and that's what you want to feel. At the end of the day, what I do resonates a lot with this. I have clients which are very, very wealthy. They own collections with dozens of cars or hundreds of cars, and I think at the end of the day, and I'll talk a little bit more about what I do, but about the culture. At the end of the day, I often tell them, "You're not my client. My client is the child inside of you," because we all want to go back to this moment where we saw the first Countach or the first 911, and was like, we're like, wow.
Yeah.
And that's when it mixes with culture, art. There's a lot of cars which could be considered art. So to me, it's very passionate, just like for you. And I guess that's going to be a problem with your show is when you do interviews is how do we stop this from going on for 19 hours? Because we could be talking for the next 19 hours about cars.
Yeah, I mean, there was an Alfa Romeo race car, I guess, and they did a redo of it and updated it in very limited production. and it was one of the most beautiful things I've seen. But more importantly, I think in a lot of cases, to your point, it's an emotional connection. It's not logical. Like I think that's what when you look at some of the electric cars, not to beat them up, but when you look at some of the electric cars, I look at an electric car in a lot of cases as an appliance. It's no longer a car. Like to me, that's not a car. It's interesting, but it's not a car anymore.
It's just the same with our client and with a lot of clients, and that's the problem with electric cars today is that at the end of the day, we do weather cars that have raced, and it's about oil leaking. You talk about the countach, they were leaking all over the place, and it's about the scent, it's about the touch, the feeling of the leather or the Alcantara, the tires, it's about so many things. If it was that simple, I would show you a picture and you'd go like, oh yeah. But it's not like that, and it's very different. Sitting in your first Bugatti or Lamborghini or whatever, it's something you remember for the rest of your life. And to me, you asked the question where it's coming from. I was a big RC fan, a big model fan, and it was something that that's the other story we'll have. We all, I guess not all, but 99% of us started making a model with our dads or granddads or brothers, and most of us stop, and some of us don't, and I've been ingrained in this culture of RC clubs and model clubs, and one day I met this guy who says in a model club, he says, you should come see my 250 GTO. It's amazing. It 124 scale, so it's like 12 centimeter, very small car. And I went and I said, wow, it's really amazing. It's incredible. He's like, no, look inside. I put the key in the ignition and the keychain on the key on the 12 centimeter car. I look inside and there's the key, and the keychain is like 0.8 millimeter. I'm like, you're insane. You're crazy. And right there and then I told him I would love to do something that amazing in 1/8 scale, which is like centimeters, 60 centimeter, 7-8 kilos. And he said, yeah, it's too expensive. I can do it. I would love to do it, but it's too expensive. And I said, okay, I'll finance it. And this is how my new project was born, Levay, where I wanted to build the most amazing model cars that were ever built. And we do some things people don't and companies don't do anymore. We invest time.
Yeah.
We invest over 1,000 hours to build one model, sometimes 1,500 hours, sometimes 2,000 hours to build one model, totally handmade, in France. And, and today we have 5 model makers. And unfortunately, it's something that has a cost, because when you invest 1,000 or 1,500 hours in a model, it's quite costly. But it's a beautiful thing, and the beautiful thing is that we're talking to very wealthy people who behave like kids. They suddenly they're there again. They're in their teenage room with their Countach poster on the wall. It's just that because they're married now and wealthy, their wives won't leave them put a Countach poster in the bedroom, and so the closest they're going to go to this is having a very high-end model, and that's what we do.
So, from a point of view of clients, I mean, are clients coming from all walks of life, or is it like, where what would you classify as a client who wants this kind of experience or this kind of model? Like, how is that different from, to your point, the person who's, got started on Hot Wheels or RC racers or whatever it might be?
We have requests weekly, daily from people from all walks of life. Then they see the price tag and they're like, okay, it's not for me. So the truth is, as much as we would love to offer models to everyone, the costs are very high. We're talking 20 to 40, 50,000 euros or US dollars. The true clients that can afford our products are usually collectors of cars. And when I mean collectors of cars, I mean people who have at least 5, 10 more, 20 cars. Our biggest client right now is 400 cars.
Wow.
So it's that. Unfortunately, the price is kind of blocking a lot of the passionate people. So we're mostly talking to wealthy people, and the other people who are interested are car manufacturers.
Right.
Especially very high-end cars. There's a lot of one-offs car manufacturers, and today they have a problem because when you buy a very, very expensive car, 2, 3, 5 million, they're usually highly personalized, and that means you're going to wait 3 to 7 years to get it.
Right.
And those brands kind of lose the connection to their client, and they want to be able to offer them a model, maybe a year and a half, which is the time it takes for us to build it. And on their way to waiting 5 years, after a year and a half, they get a big scale model of their car with all the personalization in there, and yeah, it's kind of recreates the connection between the brand and the owner.
Have you ever done cars for, say, little kids that work that they can drive like a car?
We have tons of funny requests. People that want cars with functioning engine, in 1/4 scale or 1/5, which is all doable, but the amount of time that's required to build something like this makes the price tag jump a lot. Today I had a request for a Christmas gift, but once again the price tag is such that they back down. But the thing that was most amazing recently is people that request 1/1 scale cars.
Wow.
Yeah, like real size cars, like 250 GTOs and things like that, which we can do. It's a different business, but it's something that we know how to do. But we won't do it now, but maybe someday we will. We would be so happy to be able to offer all scales and really, because one of the problems we have, sorry, I'm going to talk for too long, but
Yeah.
one of the problems we have is that on average, and this is what drove me when I started, on average, in France, and I'm pretty sure it's the same in Canada, the average age in model club is 67 years old.
Wow. Interesting.
So it's a dying craft.
Yeah.
And I have a kid, a son who's 15, a daughter who's 18. Their attention span is 4.7 seconds. And I have a model maker that comes from watchmaking. He one day worked on a single model for 4 years.
Wow. Yeah.
So we take 6 months to a year, and I have to build a model if you can focus for 4 or 5 minutes. And so it's a dying craft. So one of the things about us is protecting that craft and keeping it alive for the next generation.
So what's your field? Do you do motorcycles? Do you do airplanes? Do you just do cars? I mean, do you do military vehicles or those kind of things?
No, we do iconic cars. The only thing that separates us is that we do we don't do, I mean, we do brand new cars. Like if you ask me for a Ferrari customer, so we'll do it. But the big thing about making it by hand is that we have this patina. Because the truth is, your car only looks like your car at the dealership.
Yeah.
You take it for 20 minutes and oh, it doesn't look the same. And it's this patina of real cars that's really hard to do, especially industrially. And so when, I mean, I walk around before I had the cars ready. I walked around with photos of cars that were in production, and people would say, you know, but that's a F40. It's a photo, it's a picture of a F40. No, it's a model, and that's what we aim for. We want to create every models I saw in my life, all of them, whatever the price tag, look like model, and we do models that look just like the real car. You know, when in the cartoons when you had the ray gun, minimized
with the bang thing,
exactly, and that's what we aim for. What we do, and so the thing that we do that's different is that we do highly weathered cars, race worn. For example, we're doing a 917K from 1971 that won the 1,000 kilometer Spa-Francorchamps race in 1971, and the seat is hand painted, and it's kind of a fluffy texture, and on the seat we recreated the wear of the bum and the legs of the driver.
Impressive.
Yeah, that's what we do.
What about like movie cars, like Barris and those kind of guys, or like sci-fi movie cars? I mean, you have any of those kind of requests?
No, the truth is I was talking to a lot of model makers from the movie industry recently, and they're same thing. They're dying because they're being replaced by CGI.
Yeah.
And that's the big thing about model making is that it may sound kind of pretentious to say, oh my God, we're going to build super high-end cars for super rich clients. The first thing is that when you invest 1,500 hours in making a model, there's less margin in what we do that there is in making a lipstick and selling it at Walmart or anything like this. Yeah. It's not something to get rich. It's not something to get the highest margin. It's not something that's simple. It's just something that's beautiful and that generates emotion with people. So we do have many requests which are different, but the end result for us is always the same. How do we convey emotion with something that's exclusive, that's unique, and that's the other thing. We only do one-offs. So if you buy the red F40 LM that's on the website right now, which you can buy it from the website, but it's on there. we'll never do another F40 LM in red ever. So we want our clients to know that whatever they have on their desk, in their office, or at home is the only one that exists from us.
Fantastic. So it's kind of like a one-off piece of artwork, basically.
Everything is one-off with us. Everything.
So if someone wanted it, like, you know, they had too much money. We know people have those problems. They wanted to get back to their childhood, maybe recreate that car maybe they bought or they sold or they have or whatever. What's that process look like? Like how do they get started? Where do they find out about the company? You know, what's the process in terms of time and cost?
It's actually super complicated because the first thing we do is what do you have? Like if you're Porsche and you want a car from us, you have most of the time you have the CAD, so you have the 3D thing that you can provide. But we're talking to some car manufacturers. I'm thinking of one that I spoke to this week. They want us to do a car from an era where there wasn't computers, so then all they have is sketches.
Yeah.
And so then there's two questions. Either you have access to the car, and then we'll send a team with a LiDAR, and we'll completely scan the car, and we'll send with the team a professional photographer that's going to take 2,000, 3,000 photos of the car, because we can't go back, or it's going to be hard to go back. So we take everything up, inside, outside, everything in photos and LiDAR. And if you don't have access to the car, then we'll recreate it by hand in the CAD software, and that's a painstaking process. So for commission models, a lot of the original cost is what you have. Then once you have a CAD model, the hardest question of them all is what do you do in what material? We have an AC Cobra where the wheel is wood and aluminum. Do you do aluminum? Do you do magnesium? Do you do titanium? Mm-hmm. Which type of wood? The best example I have, I'll send you the video, is the gear knob, for the 917K. Usually in the race car, it was made with balsa wood. It was layers of balsa wood that were glued together and then cut in the shape of a gear knob and attached for weight reasons. And we tried to redo this at minuscule levels. We tried for like days. It didn't work out, and that's also where the cost comes from. There's a lot of trial and error. And we ended up carving it in cherry tree wood and painting it. And it's gorgeous. The video is online. I'll send it to you. But to answer your question, the hardest part is what do we do in what? Because not everything is possible. I'll give you a good example. We want to do something which is true to reality. But how do you scale down the inches of a door? I mean, in metal, the metal must be 0.5 centimeter. But if you scale it down to the same scale, you're going to end up with an aluminum floor that won't. So how do you recreate this? And that's when you turn to carbon or other or 3D printed to be able to have something that's true to life in scale and still going to hold the door. And that's the hardest, the longest part, most complicated part. And then at the end of the process, you have art. You have people who paint by hand 1,500 parts and put the blue color on the exhaust when they warm up. Put like I said, the wear on the seat. Put the dust and oil leakage on an engine. And I mean, it's really an art form.
Yeah, I mean, I always think of that. I don't know if you're familiar with the show, The Guild of Automotive Engineers. But anyway, it's a show. No. It's a guy. They do custom cars and they do recreations and they do whatever, fixing cars. But they got a request to do a recreation of a car that doesn't exist that's made out of magnesium. So they didn't have they had some photos of the car and they had some drawings, but they didn't have all the information. It was for some oil chic or something. But if you're welding, you're recreating a car that hasn't been actually in existence since I think the 30s. I think it was a Bugatti design. And you're cutting and welding magnesium, which is flammable. So it's light, but it can also combust. So it's like a major problem. So it took them, I think, 3 years to build this thing. And it's got the doors that go the wrong way, and this and that. And they were, and they didn't have photos of everything. So I think they took some artistic license. But the thing that was interesting about that was, to your point, let's just say your favorite car is, one of those Cadillacs with the wings on the back or whatever, 57, I think it is. I mean, resurrecting that car that maybe you have an example that you want to, bring back to life is kind of a long and expensive process because there's very few people who even know much about it still above ground. So when you look at some of those older race cars, like the Bugatti's a good example, made of magnesium. I think it was pre-World War II, so it doesn't exist anymore. But they were recreating it from the ground up, and that's a multi-million-dollar exercise just because you got to basically recreate something from drawings. Like there is no car. Like the car doesn't exist.
The cars, even today, if you're talking Formula One, they're all prototypes.
Yeah.
And so prior to like the 90s, or most race cars were prototypes anyway.
Yeah.
If you take the 917K, there was like 30 versions or something like this, and each one has a different thing. Mm-hmm. But two things about what you said, which is funny, and this is why it's such a passion for everyone. You mentioned magnesium.
Yeah.
The name of my company is Levegh, Levegh. Does that ring a bell or not at all?
No, but that's okay. Details will be below, just so you know.
Yeah. Pierre Levegh was an F1 and endurance driver, French endurance driver.
Okay.
And actually, you know him because he's one of the actor, actually the first victim of the most famous motorsport moment in motorsport history. Pierre Levegh was a jeweler, which is a connection to us. That's why we chose this name.
Oh, okay.
And he was also one of the few F1 and endurance driver in humanity, in mankind, that was also an Olympian. He was a pro ice hockey player for the French team, and he played in the Olympics. And Pierre Levegh, at that time, was racing with his own cars. In 1952, he was at Le Mans.
Okay.
And that's his big feat, is that he took pole position, first place, and raced. At Le Mans, you have to change driver every 3-4 hours. Yeah. And back then it was the same. But back then it wasn't mandatory. And he refused to swap seats. So he stayed in pole position for 22 hours and 40 minutes.
Wow.
At that time, cars were basically your granddad's sofa on a V8. and they were shaking all over. I mean, it was excruciating in terms of driving. And his engine broke at 22 hours and 40 minutes. But if it hadn't, he would have finished Le Mans single-handedly.
Wow.
When his engine broke, it took 20 minutes for the next guy to take over the pole position.
Wow.
And Mercedes, seeing this, offered him a seat in 1955 at Le Mans de Mercedes. And this year, he was driving 250 kilometers per hour. Fangio behind him. In front of him was Mike Hawthorne on Jaguar. Mm-hmm. And Mike Hawthorne had forgotten to pit a few times in a row. And back then, the mechanics would shake hammers. And he saw the mechanics. He's like, "Oh, I have the time to pass this Austin Illy in front of me." And he passed the Austin, and he actually cut him off. The Jaguar was the first time ever in competition a car had disc brakes. So when he broke, the Austin Illy couldn't brake in time. And so this Austin Illy, Macklin, instead of going left for like 3-4 meters, he went boom, 5, 6, 7 meters on the left. Here comes Levegh. And Levegh had only the time to do one thing, which is raise his fist for Fangio behind him. He crashed into the Austin Illy, crashed into a wall. His front axle and his engine went into the crowd and killed 83 people, and he died instantly. And why am I saying that? Because the big story about this is that his car was made of magnesium, which ignited right away, and the fire burned for quite some time. And Fangio finished the race. He went unscathed in between those car crashing, and he finished the race and said the last thing Pierre Levegh did before he died was saving my life.
Wow, that's a hell of a story, man. When you look at I think it was that Ford versus Ferrari movie, and he was talking about the calculations that he made. I think it was the German driver, not the British guy, and he was saying, listen, there's a calculated risk here. Like, I could die. It's a high chance. When I add new factors, I have a higher chance of dying. And at some point, you got to look at it and go, is the juice worth the squeeze? Is it worth the risk? And I think people underestimate that today with the current car technology, that some of these guys back in the 20s, 30s, 40s, and 50s, to your point, you know, they were really taking their life in their hands every time they got in that car because they had no idea what was going to happen.
But
It's
it's still
dangerous.
true today, I think. It's still true today. And you know, when I got the idea for the name, my friends told me, but you want to really have a brand that's associated with that. And I was watching Rally on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was the Finland or something like this from a couple of years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And there's this point in the race where there's this huge jump, and the cars are like 180 kilometers per hour, and they jump and they fall like 300 meters later. And you know, they fall and boom, they wiggle. It's like not always clean. And who do you have on the side of the road? People.
Yeah.
Standing there.
Oh yeah.
If you think your passion is different than Louis Hamilton's passion, it's not. It's something that, is it reasonable for them or for you? No, it isn't. Is it rational? It isn't.
No.
And when I saw those people there, I'm like, this is motorsport, you know. It's a human body being flying across space at 320 kilometers per hour.
Yeah.
Is it reasonable? Let me see.
No, absolutely not.
It's not rational.
So how can someone reach out to you? There will be details below, and you know, like, is there a wait list to get a project started, or how does that work?
So the funny thing is, we started not so long ago. I've been working on the project for 18 months, but we actually launched on June 11th, 2025. Why? Because it was the 70th anniversary of the Le Mans crash and of the death of Pierre Levey.
Okay.
So we've only been out there for 2 months. To tell you the truth, it's funny that you're asking, because I think we'll have a single moment in a couple of years. Right now, we can afford to take on projects, so we'll be very happy to take on projects. But yeah, we're never going to doing industrial things. So we have a limited possible output every year. We're going to increase that a little bit, but I would say, you know, if one day we reach 50, 60, 70 cars a year, it will be already quite incredible, and that's good with us. The funny thing for North American listeners is we've been invited to the Detroit Auto Show. So we'll be showing our models at the Detroit Auto Show. I'll actually be a keynote speaker at the launch event. And yeah, we're very excited because you mentioned it earlier. It's people from all walks of life. It's not because you sell your products to wealthy people. I mean, I'll tell you something I shouldn't say, but a couple of weeks ago, I was at the Concours d'Elegance in Europe. I won't say which.
Yeah.
Which was really nice, but which was disappointed. You know why? There was a lot of potential clients, a lot of gorgeous cars, but it was not open to the public, and I don't like that. If it's just to be around wealthy people and, you know, and measure the size of our cars, great. But I was at Goodwood Revival, and this atmosphere and passion shared, whether you're rich or poor, we all share the same passion. It's just so beautiful to talk about it, as I am today with you. And so, yeah, people can reach out. We'll take on any projects of any size. The only thing is, we'll do it to perfection. So it takes time. The only thing with us is it takes time. You can't expect to have something in less than 9 months or a year.
Right. Well, I appreciate you taking the time today. I agree with you 100%. There's a car collector. I'm not sure. I think he's in the U.S. and he's one of the largest collectors, I think, of Bugattis in the world. And he actually drives most of his cars, if not all of them. And people are like, "You're nuts. These cars are worth all this money." He's like, what's the point of having it if you're not driving it? And I have had a lot of respect for that. I mean, there's a famous collection in California called the Nethercott collection. I'm sure he's a relative of my family, but again, it's about actually appreciating these cars, but more importantly, hopefully driving them. And I think, to your point, having a bunch of wealthy people looking at each other's cars is kind of silly. Like, at the end of the day, if you're not sharing that art and that passion with other people, what's the point? I mean, it's like having a diamond collection when nobody sees. Like, that just seems to really be stupid to me.
Me, I don't really mind what people do with their cars. I think some people, there is some interest in conservation as well.
Yeah.
You know, to me, turning I don't know, an old Miura or whatever car into a kind of a tuned car is respectful to me. I mean, there are some conservation that's important because it is part of a cultural heritage. Yeah. So yeah, I think I don't mind wealthy people getting together. I'm just saying, to me, it's more interesting when you got kids around and when you have, you know, my model makers often tell me, or they used to tell me, but we're just model makers, and we're doing these things for wealthy people, and it's kind of like all we do is models. And I'm like, yeah, but you have to think of something. Ferrari, for example, makes more money with licensing than with cars.
Yeah.
So it's because people have a Ferrari hat, T-shirt, model, flag, you name it. They make $1 billion in licensing thanks to this. So the car industry is not about wealthy people. It's not about Lewis Hamilton. It's about all of us, and we all play a part in this industry, and we all make it continue. And at the end of the day, the reason why the electric hypercar are not working out, it's not because wealthy people don't want it, because it doesn't appeal to everyone or anyone.
Yeah.
Are people ready to go around the racetrack to hear? Well, it seems not.
Well, I had the opportunity to go to a car museum in Tacoma, Washington. So it was founded by a gentleman who had the largest private collection of cars in the U.S. when he died. He had 4,800 cars. And what was interesting about the collection wasn't that they couldn't display it all, by the way, because he had too many. It was the cars that he bought were really just things that he liked. It had nothing to do with the value of the cars at all. He just happened to run into a car he liked and he bought it. And he just happened to be a bigger buyer than other people. But what was interesting, to your point, and I had the opportunity to go to a NASCAR race years ago, electric cars may be fast, but they're not interesting. And I think that's where the disconnect is for me. I respect the fact that these things can go fast, get it. But when I drive them, for me, it's a disconnect. I just don't get it. And I don't think that's going to change. I don't think it's going to be interesting.
I used to drive with a friend who had what was it? Diablo.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I remember that car.
The V12.
Yeah.
We used to drive in Paris in the 16th arrondissement, a big part of the town. And instead of going fast, we'd go hyper slow, super slow, because the engine would go whoop, 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 whoop. And we were going down the street. Every car on the left and right, the alarms would go off because of the vibration. It's all those things, all those stories, those emotions, it's a beautiful passion. It's a crazy one. I used to have 150 RC cars at home. 150. My wife was killing me. You were opening the drawers in the kitchen. There were cars over there, stacked. It's a beautiful thing, and I think it's if you go deeper, it's about you and your family with your dad and mom in the car. Car was kind of part of travel and holidays, and relates to so many emotions.
Yeah.
And it's a beautiful thing. It's not only about wealthy guys going fast. It's about those emotions. And the truth is, I had this story a few days ago from a guy in Switzerland that said in Zug, Zug is one of the richest part of the world. They have so many Porsches that it's becoming not interesting to have a Porsche because everybody's got one.
Yeah, it's like a Toyota, like a Toyota Camry.
Yeah, exactly. And to my point, if people, the normal people, average people like you and I, stop believing in Ferraris, rich people wouldn't buy Ferrari anymore.
Yeah.
Well, and so it's everybody counts, and everybody shares the same passion at a different level, and that's fine. And some people are so excited when they finish up their small scale Ferrari or Porsche, and they keep it for the rest of their life. And I hope I'll be on the show again, because we're working on some big things to actually bring in smaller scale, handmade, for more quote unquote normal people, and it's one of my dreams to really have something that's more affordable. Leve will always be the high end and so on, but it's we have to keep this thing alive, and there'll always be a passion for cars, but the model making, if we stop making it, there won't be anybody that knows how to do it anymore.
Fantastic. Well, thanks for taking the time today. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you.
And there will be details below if you're looking for a scale model at scale that's weathered and done right. And I appreciate you and your passion. Have yourself a great day and a wonderful weekend. We'll talk soon.
Thank you.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye.